The agenda of this general orientation is to introduce the following topics: company history, health and safety policies, company rules, emergency response, rights and responsibilities, hazard assessments, behavior-based observations, personal protective equipment, WHMIS or GHS, and incident protocol. McNeil Construction is a family business started by Wally McNeil in 1987, operating in Grande Cache, Alberta. The business started as a logging operation and has expanded to include road building and maintenance, transporting logs, tank trucks, vacuum, steam, and pressure truck services, as well as gravel crushing operations. McNeil Construction's companies include Summit Transport, S&B Steamers, and Chiton Pressure Trucks. Safety is a value to us at McNeil Construction. It's part of how we conduct business, all day, every day. It's our goal to ensure everyone goes home to their family and friends safely. We believe in safe by choice, not by accident. McNeil Construction's management team are committed to operating safely. Our company is committed to providing a safe, healthy work environment for our workers, contractors, and visitors at all our operating offices or work locations. The integration of our health and safety management system into our daily operations and business enable us to keep our quality and production at the highest levels while preventing workplace incidents. We achieve this by ensuring all workers are trained for the work they are tasked with completing, communicating all health and safety matters, having leadership facilitate and take part in the health and safety meetings, ensuring all personnel understand their responsibilities and are held accountable to them. But most importantly, by having senior leadership push for health and safety excellence. All subcontractors working for us must meet or exceed all applicable legislation and our company health and safety standards. Should any subcontractor not have a health and safety program, they must follow our health and safety management system. The drug and alcohol policy. Our organization has a drug and alcohol policy and a zero tolerance for the use of drugs and alcohol while on duty. We're committed to providing a safe work environment at all of our operations. All employees share the responsibility of maintaining a safe and productive work environment. We expect our employees to arrive at work fit for duty, conduct themselves in a safe and lawful manner while on duty or on company premises, cooperate in the assessment of substance abuse problems, including taking an alcohol or drug test if required. All workers have a responsibility to report to work in proper mental and physical condition to safely perform your assigned duties. Anyone who believes that their performance may be affected by their physical or mental condition, health problems, and/or other factors must advise their supervisor prior to starting any work assignment. If you're taking prescription drugs or over-the-counter medication, update your emergency information sheet and notify your supervisor. Our company has a harassment policy. We are committed to maintaining a workplace that provides every employee freedom from harassment and violence in the course of employment. Behavior by any employee that harasses, demeans, or threatens another employee will not be tolerated. We expect everyone to be respectful and caring towards others. We will not tolerate discrimination or harassment for any reason, including, but not limited to, race, nationality, ethnic origin, color, religion, age, gender, marital status, family status, disability, including physical and mental disability, or sexual orientation. We believe that each person has the right to be treated with respect and dignity. Each individual must be respected for their talents and skills and given equal treatment. We all have the right to be here to earn a living for ourselves and our families. Give respect to get respect. In keeping with our belief that safety is a shared value, we have implemented a disciplinary policy and procedure in order to maintain regulatory requirements, industry standards, and company rules. This policy will include the following: a verbal warning, a written warning, a suspension, and finally, a termination. Our company has the following rules in place for the safety of the organization and its staff members: drugs and alcohol, zero tolerance for use, consumption, possession, and sale thereof. All incidents, including near misses, must be reported immediately. Theft, vandalism, abuse, and/or willful damage of company, client, or coworkers' property will not be tolerated. Harassment and violence will not be tolerated. Fighting and horseplay are cause for disciplinary action. Possessing or using firearms, ammunition, or explosives is prohibited. Smoking will be permitted in designated areas only. Seatbelts must be worn at all times when operating a motor vehicle. PPE and clothing suitable to the work and environment is mandatory. The use of unsafe tools or equipment is prohibited. All employees are expected to assist in keeping the work area free of garbage and debris. In Canada, most roles and responsibilities in legislation are written based around the General Duty Clause. The General Duty Clause states, employers are required to provide their employees with a place of employment that is free from recognized hazards that are causing or are likely to cause death or serious harm. While engaged in an occupation on the project site, you need to understand your responsibilities as defined by the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Part 1. Many people under this Act carry out many of the roles as defined in the Act. Obligations of worksite parties. All worksite parties must cooperate with anyone exercising a duty under the legislation. This means worksite parties must provide one another health and safety information, including what information to provide and how to do so. What are employers responsible for? Ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of workers. Ensuring workers are aware of their rights and duties under the law and are aware of any health and safety issues. Providing competent supervisors, training workers, and preventing violence and harassment. Ensuring public safety at or in the vicinity of work sites. Working with the Joint Worksite Health and Safety Committee or Health and Safety Representative. Supervisors must be competent, protect the health and safety of workers, advise workers of all health and safety hazards, report all health and safety concerns to the employer, and prevent violence and harassment. Workers are responsible for ensuring the health and safety of themselves and others, cooperating with their employer or supervisor for purposes of health and safety, using all devices and wear all PPE, report unsafe or unhealthy conditions and refrain from causing or participating in violence and harassment. Contractors are responsible for ensuring that work being performed by employers under their control does not endanger the health and safety of persons at the worksite. Every worker in Canada has 3 basic rights when at work. Do you know yours? Everyone has a right to know or the right to be informed about actual and potential dangers in the workplace. The right to participate in the workplace health and safety activities through the Health and Safety Committee or as a worker health and safety representative. The right to refuse unsafe work. All workers have the right to refuse dangerous work. Once the refusal is reported, the employer must investigate and involve the Health and Safety Committee or representative as appropriate in the investigation. Did you know approximately 7,600 young workers aged 15 to 24 report on-the-job injuries each year? New to industry and young workers are 60% more likely to be involved in an injury. If you're new to industry and have less than 6 months experience, or are a young worker, you must notify your supervisor to ensure you receive the necessary training and mentorship. When you are working with a new and/or young worker, adopt the following approach. Recognize that the worker has minimal experience and unknown work habits. Understand that the worker is likely unfamiliar with site-specific procedures and practices. Acknowledge that the worker may need instructions on best practices, activity-related dangers and how to avoid them, and realize that the worker may not be familiar with the Safe Work Permit or similar company-specific controls to keep the workplace safe. Qualified, competent, and experienced workers are encouraged to introduce yourself and offer advice or assistance. Take time to review relevant health and safety programs with them. Show them how to work the right way, the safe way. Expect things to take a little longer, and know where the worker is, what they are doing, and work with them until you're satisfied that the job will be carried out by them safely. All contractors and workers must ensure they have received training and have general understandings of the work they are completing prior to beginning a task, or are under the direct supervision of a competent supervisor. This includes, but is not limited to, hazard recognition and control, all equipment they are expected to work with or operate, work-specific tasks such as ground disturbance activities, fall protection, confined space, harassment and discrimination, joint worksite health and safety, and PPE use. Hazard assessment. Every employee of our company is expected to take part in the Hazard Recognition and Control Program. This program includes several forms of hazard assessment, such as a Job Hazard Assessment, or JHA, takes a close look at the overall operations of an organization to identify hazards, measure risk to help prioritize hazards, and develop, implement, and monitor related controls. A worker's job or types of work are broken down into separate tasks. Formal hazard assessments are detailed, can involve many people, and will require time to complete. A field-level hazard assessment, FLHA, also called site-specific, is performed before work starts at a site, and at a site where conditions change or when non-routine work is added. This flags hazards identified at the location, for example, overhead power lines, poor lighting, wet surfaces, extreme temperatures, or the presence of wildlife, or introduced by a change at the work site, for example, scaffolding, unfamiliar chemicals, or introduction of new equipment. Any hazards identified are to be eliminated or controlled right away, before work begins or continues. All workers must take part in the creation and review of both the JHA and FLHA prior to completing any work on the project site. The BBO or HID program is a system whereby workers participating in identifying behaviors or conditions that are either safe or pose a risk. The purpose of the program is to protect personnel through incident prevention. We accomplish this by either having interventions at a field level or using the documented information to identify and curve trends before they become an incident. A behavior-based safety program is made up of two main categories. 1. Behaviors. A. Safe behavior, a behavior that helps mitigate a hazardous situation. B. Hazardous behavior, a behavior that could cause harm to a person, thing, or the environment. 2. Conditions. A. Safe condition, a condition where the object is considered exposed to normal risk for damage or loss. B. Hazardous condition. A condition that is likely to cause death or serious personal injury to persons exposed to such conditions. Our company has made safe operating practices and procedures that are a valuable tool to be used by all. All employees have access to these documents by logging into our safety management system and looking under Practices or Procedures on the toolbar. Safe work practices are generally written methods outlining how to perform a task with minimum risk to people, equipment, materials, environment, and processes. Safe job procedures are a series of specific steps that guide a worker through a task from start to finish in a chronological order. All employees are expected to review the practices and procedures that pertain to their work prior to conducting the task. What is meant by working alone? A person is considered alone at work when they are working by themselves and cannot be seen or heard by another person. What can be done to help a lone worker stay safe? There are many steps that can be taken to help ensure the safety of the lone worker. Assess the hazards of your workplace. Talk to employees about their work. Get their input about the work they do and possible solutions. Avoid having a worker by themselves whenever possible, especially for tasks with a recognized risk. Take corrective action to prevent or minimize the potential risks of working alone. Provide appropriate training and education. Report all situations, incidents, or near misses, especially where working alone increased the severity of the situation. Analyze this information and make changes to company policy where necessary. Establish a check-in procedure. Make sure that regular contact is kept with all employees. Establish ways to account for people, visually or verbally, while they are working. Schedule higher-risk tasks to be done during normal business hours or when another coworker is capable of helping in an emergency. Every worksite's hazards are different, and therefore, the personal protective equipment to be worn can change from site to site. Your PPE for the task you are completing should follow the site requirements and reflect the hazards associated with the task you are performing. Your PPE is the last line of defense between you and a potential injury. This is why all employees and subcontractors are required to ensure they have the appropriate personal protective equipment for the task and the work site they are visiting. The minimum PPE required will vary and is dependent on the task and can include the following: CSA-approved hard hat, CSA-approved safety glasses, CSA-approved work boots, gloves as per hazard assessment, and hearing protection. When an emergency takes place, you need to know your responsibilities. Managers must ensure that specific resources, including materials, equipment, and training, are in place to deal with unexpected emergencies at the workplace. Supervisory or line management are responsible too. Develop a site-specific emergency response plan. Test the emergency response plan and update it when required. Ensure that all employees understand the site-specific horns, alarms, and emergency response plans, as well as their roles in an emergency situation. Confirm that the emergency response plan is based on the pre-job hazard assessment. Employees need to understand the emergency response plan for their work area, participate in the development and implementation of the emergency response plans for their work areas when requested, participate in emergency response training and testing of the emergency response plan. All personnel are expected to report all incidents or near misses immediately to your supervisor. What defines an incident versus a near miss? and why report them? A work-related incident is defined as an unplanned, undesired event that hinders completion of a task and may cause injury, illness, property damage, or some combination of all three in varying degrees from minor to catastrophic. A near miss, near hit, close call, or nearly a collision is an unplanned event that has the potential to cause, but does not actually result in human injury, environmental or equipment damage, or an interruption to normal operation. These include, but are not limited to, injuries, get first aid promptly, damage or contact, vehicle incidents, fires, environmental incidents, spills, releases, etc. Why do we conduct investigations? To fulfill any legal requirements as outlined in provincial or federal legislation, to determine the cost associated with an incident, to determine compliance with applicable regulations, for example, occupational health and safety, criminal, etc. But most importantly, to find out the root cause of incidents, to prevent similar incidents in the future. All incidents and near misses will be investigated, and never with the intent of looking for who did what wrong. We investigate, looking for what systems need improvement to prevent the occurrence from happening again. Thank you.